Greetings. Today I'm going to talk about a back-end configuration of a software program called Jamf Connect, which runs on a Jamf Pro server. What this does, now that Active Directory configurations for Apple computers is dead, that workflow is no longer recommended by anybody who's serious about using a modern Mac admin workflow. This is the type of software you use to manage authentication in an enterprise environment. So the way it works is you use your Office 365 accounts. If you're on the Windows side, in my case we're on the Google side, so we use Google accounts, and end users sign in to their company Apple computers with their Google accounts. And I'm going to give a demo of what that looks like on the back end. In the description below, I'll link to the preview video from Jamf that shows what this looks like on the front end, and just a much more polished pitch for the software that doesn't go into any detail of like what these configurations are. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so I've copied and pasted a configuration profile, which you saw on the previous page where I was giving the intro, and it has a property list file, which is what you're looking at now. This is the heart of your Jamf Connect configuration. So what happens on the back end is when an Apple computer goes through its pre-stage enrollment, this configuration profile tells that client computer, hey, you need a user account, and this is the way your sign-in is going to look. So it does this in a key value pair format, and we'll go through my key value pair format together right now. Line 5 is where everything starts. So the first key value pair is allow network selection. On the user side, that's going to allow the user to connect the computer to a Wi-Fi network. Pretty important for automating deployment in a automated way that's not tied to a specific site. So that key value pair on row 6 is set to true. Row 7, create admin user account. That is set to false. This means that the account the user creates is going to be a standard user account, and they will not have admin privileges over their device. Create Jamf Connect password. That's row 9. That is set to 10, or set to true on line 10. This basically means that the Jamf Connect password that the user creates is going to be the one that is used for the local account that's created. And in theory, that's the same password they use for their company Office 365 or Google admin account. All right, next line. Demobilize users set to true. I honestly don't remember what that means. If you remember and know, go ahead and put that in the comments below. Help everybody else learn from your knowledge. Deny local, set to true. Means no one's logging in with a local network account. Deny local excluded array. Now we have a string with an LAdmin account. And below that array, in the array, we have a local fallback set to true. What does that mean? You click local login in the graphical user interface on a client computer, you will be able to log into the local admin account within this group. And I'm not going to go into details on why you should be using a Jamf configuration that has local admin accounts with different passwords for every computer. However, if that's something you're interested in seeing in a future video, please also put that in the comments below, and I'll make a video about that. Okay. Row 19, local fallback set to true. So we talked about that, which means you can log in with local LAdmin. If you know the code, password for that account. 21, migrate set to true. 23, migrate hide user array. We have a string for LAdmin, JSS admin in the array. And then on 28, we have the client ID with the string. And this is going to be blurred out, but I'll leave part of it that shows the Google content maybe. And then a client secret on line 30 with a string on line 31 and a new password in line 32 set to true. So that means that the OIDCC user needs to create a new password when they log in. After that, the property list file tells the computer who the OIDC provider is, which is a Google ID, and where it redirects, which is the Jamf software server. In our case, that's our server. And then on row 38, we have ignore admin set to true, and that's it. plist file done. So that's what things look like in detail on the back end of Jamf. All right. On the Google admin side, we can see we're logged into a Google admin console, and because this setup is tied to that, this is where the authentication magic happens. So in the Google admin console, you can see our menus. We're in the LDAP menu, which I think stands for Local Database Access Protocol. And we can see that this is set to on and that we've labeled it as Mac OS clients tied to Jamf. And we have a certificate that allows this exchange to happen between the servers that expires in 275 days. So this configuration profile, which has our LDAP connection from our cloud identity partner, talking from Google to Jamf to Apple servers, is all built in to the configuration profile. Now we have to get that to the client computers, and that's done in a pre-stage enrollment, which is what we're going to look at here in more detail. This is our pre-stage enrollment in our Jamf Pro server. We're going to click edit and just kind of go through these settings. So we got a display name that says what it is and the version number of the Jamf Connect package, that's software package that's attached to this pre-stage at the bottom. And we have a support number, help desk number, and other important options. These options are as follows. First one, require authentication. We're not requiring that because Jamf Connect is where we get the authentication piece of this puzzle. Next, we choose to make the MDM profile mandatory so that we can maintain control or get and maintain control of the client computer. And we're not going to allow it to be removed because we want to maintain that control. We don't want the user to enable activation lock because that can cause problems that I'm not going to go into in this tutorial. But if you know what those problems are, go ahead and put them in the comments below. Same thing with setting a recovery password. I'm not going to go into detail there. If you like that option or have a strong preference either way within your own pre-stage enrollment, go ahead and let the community know in the comments below. We don't have any custom enrollment configuration in this setup, so that's set to none. And now let's talk about Setup Assistant. You'll notice the first box to automatically advance through Setup Assistant is unchecked. If you check that, chances are it's not going to work. You'll see errors like the Jamf Connect box not even showing up, or because the client computer just glitches. So leave those unchecked, and as you go through these boxes, start by allowing every screen to show up, which is super annoying within the setup assistant because there's so many of them, and then do one lab test at a time. In each lab test, make sure that your workflow, your sign-in workflow, works perfectly, and then uncheck a box like location services or terms and conditions, and just uncheck the boxes one at a time as you go through your lab test to find out how many you can uncheck without breaking your configuration. You may also want to have some of these boxes checked depending on your organizational needs. So just decide what's best for your organization and for your workflow, and what actually works within the Apple ecosystem, within whatever operating system your clients have when they go through the pre-stage enrollment. I'm going to skip over account settings. In general, though, I'll just give a general disclaimer that says move away from a local admin account with the same password across a bunch of Macs. Do the modern workflow where the LAdmin account and the password for that LAdmin account is held by the MDM and is specific to each Mac. It's much more secure. You have strong feelings on that or a configuration you think's awesome, put it in the description or in the comments below. Okay, configuration profiles. We have 4 on here. First one, automatically trigger auth changer. This is another property list file with a key value pair that I have in my configuration because of some problems I had in an earlier build of my Jamf Connect configuration, and this just kind of fixes that bug. I'll show you what it is so you can see it. Maybe it will help you, but for a lot of folks, they don't need this. Here's just another list of other configuration profiles that aren't tied to our configuration at the pre-stage step, but they are optional. So we will just kind of scroll through these until we get to the other really important configuration profiles, which are related to our Jamf Connect configuration. And that's everything we looked at the start of this video. So you can see the checkbox for Jamf Connect, create all users as standard accounts, version 2, 0628-2022. And we can see where that's scoped to, as well as a license without a scope. And those are set to permeate to our users. It's really important that once you get these dialed, you document your work, you do really good lab work, and you don't mess around with them too much. One misconfiguration in your pre-stage enrollment, whether you're updating the package or just adding new configuration profiles, can blow up the whole thing. So be super careful. You can always clone a pre-stage or add a new one and do a test on a small subset of computers to make sure everything's working before going to production. It's never worth breaking a production configuration when you're tinkering with things. The other thing is we have a Wi-Fi SSID configuration profile, and that is cool because we want our client computers to connect to the Wi-Fi as soon as possible and maintain that connection so that they can talk with the Jamf Pro server. So that's our configuration profiles. Alrighty, last but not least, we have our enrollment packages. And in this case, we can see that we are running Jamf Connect version 2.23.0. And that is the enrollment package we're using. I always put that in the title. You can see there's a bit of a mismatch here. So after I finish this voiceover, I'm going to go and fix that so that my pre-stage enrollment title matches the version of Jamf Connect I'm using. And just about every month I update this package about a month after Jamf releases it, just in case there's any bugs that the user community sees. But be careful updating this. Make sure you do it correctly. I have another video on that on my Mac admin playlist, because if you break that configuration or misupload that package, you can end up in a situation where nobody in your fleet can sign into their MacBooks, and you're going to have a bad day and they're going to be frustrated with you. All right. Let's just quickly cover one thing we talked about, which is the automatic trigger auth. And we'll look at this real quick. So this is something I have, which you can see resets Jamf Connect as a configuration profile, just in case it's glitchy. And I have it pointed to all my machines. So that's just a little Easter egg, may help you, may not. Once your configuration's set, it's pretty much that simple. It takes some time and definitely some lab work to test everything and get it working. And once it's done, this will scale really well, whether you have 50 MacBook computers or 500,000. It's very slick and great to use. If you're still using Active Directory or even a Apple server with Open Directory, make the switch now, get with the times, and consider this software as an option to use for automating user authentication in an enterprise environment on macOS computers. In any case, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you around.